Today, we're making Cha Ca La Vong, one of the most legendary dishes from Hanoi. This is such an incredibly unique dish that pairs fried flaky white fish with the earthy and aromatic flavors of turmeric, galangal, and dill. Now today's video is going to be a little bit different from my standard recipe videos because instead of buying my fish at the grocery store, I was invited by Captain Paul to go on a fishing charter with Fish PNW to catch some Pacific Sanddabs in the Puget Sound. Now it's been over a decade since I've personally have gone fishing, and I've actually never fished on a boat before either, so this was an incredible experience for me. We're also going to be joined by some of my friends as well as Hanna, so come along for the ride. But if you're only interested in the recipe, feel free to skip ahead to the 12:44 mark and jump right into it. But before you do me a favor and make sure you like, comment, share, and save this video.
So my grandfather, I think, kind of passed that fishing thing on to me. Always loved the water.
Just for the bait. And this is our Pacific market squid, scientifically known as Loligo opalescens or luminescence. You can catch these market squid. They're delicious to eat if you've never had it before.
But we're just gonna have a little safety talk and kind of what to expect, because last time we went out, we did crabbing. Okay, this is gonna be different because everyone's gonna be rod in hand type fishing. Okay, so but first, before we get on, we need to talk about safety. So Coast Guard requires that we do an annual inspection of the vessel. Means that fire extinguishers have left hand retrieve. You'll always want to keep that reel downward facing while you're either reeling left or you could reel right. If you have a preference, then let me know. We've got a combination of either or up there. But if it feels weird to you, it may or may not based on that. You know? So it's a muscle memory if you fished a lot during it as a child. But for this purpose, today's fishing event, I'm just going to demonstrate for you. Okay, so what we have on this is a braided line. This is a
Okay. So we'll just leave yours out here. Keep fishing and it doesn't take off.
Yep.
1, 2, 5, where to go? Second?
Okay. You can see how that doubled over. I can tell there's a fish on there just because it's double the weight of what she had on there. I'll have to get it back too.
While you're tangled up, hold on, stop.
Perfect.
You got one.
Yay. All right. So
It's so tight.
Yeah, it's a small one.
I don't feel like
Well, we'll take a picture because this is your
First fish.
Your first flounder. So watch your rod tip. Yep, perfect. Okay, step back a little bit. Make sure the rod's not in your face, and then Ken will take a picture.
Yeah.
That looks like they're used to crunch crabs and crustaceans and crab, and so yeah, it's a very unusual species. You can technically keep them, but we don't keep these. They
don't eat it.
Beautiful.
Okay, you got bait?
Clyde,
we have.
It's the best.
we have
Jake.
ceviche.
It's the best.
He's the best.
This is it. Flounder season. She wasn't even standing like that. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm constantly, because I keep trying to make sure I'm at the bottom.
Fishing offshore, you're using a pipe jig, pounding the bottom. That drives the Okay, so make sure you got all your personal items here. And,
It's going.
Okay, you guys can step off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the fish. We're going to take it over here. We'll take a group shot. I'll show you how we're going to clean them. Cut the heads and cut out.
You see it right there?
Oh, they're so spoiled here. I'll tell you what. They won't even eat squid or
They're picky.
they only want salmon carcass.
He kind of looks like Charlie.
Very spoiled. Very spoiled.
They know what is coming. Wow.
Flopping back into the water. This just kind of stuns them and then puts them out.
It's a video, not a camera.
So I just like, see, you notice these Sanddab, they're kind of like a, their eyes are oriented on one side of the head. If you do catch other species, which you catch like rock sole in here, and their eyes will be different. They'll be left oriented, or right oriented rather. So these are like left oriented, you know, so a little different. So pretty easy to clean them or gut them. I just take, like in this case, just a serrated knife. And I'll run just like a 45 degree here, because you can see, if you hold these up to the light, you can see that gut is just limited to this area right here. And they've got a little anal opening there where they express all of their waste through there. But other than that, this is the meat that we're eating right here. So you don't really need the head or that gut. So then I just like to just take that knife, run one quick line, and then I can throw that over. And so what that does is it takes all that body cavity, guts and everything, and it leaves that white meat.
Oh,
You kind of see that white meat. Yeah. So another thing that we'll do once you get back to the restaurant is you'll want to scale these things on both sides, not only the top but also the bottom. Easy way to do that: just take some running water, flat blade of a sharp knife, not a serrated knife, and just pretty much run it backwards. Yeah, and it's just
all this stuff, that's all the little scales on that, and they're really kind of
really
tight.
easy.
Yeah. So then easy just to do that on one side, flip it over, kind of same thing on this side. And it doesn't look like it, but that's a
Very
fair
easy.
amount of scales right there
Yeah.
on that, right? So you'll want to clean that off before you prepare it. You don't have to worry about taking the skin off or anything like that if you're going to deep fry it. One thing I would recommend if you're going to deep fry it is to see this lateral line. This is that central nervous system of the fish. All those nerves and what we feel, that pounding, that ball will pick up through that lateral line. It's kind of like the ears of the fish, right? And so what I'd like to do is to cut, not with this knife, but cut a line, not very sharp, along that lateral line. What that does is, and then dry the fish out a little bit. If you want to salt it, the salt will draw out some of that moisture from the flesh, and it will actually firm up the meat a little bit and bring some seasoning to that. But you don't have to do that. That's optional. But if you want to make it fresh, you could steam it like this with the soy, ginger, green onion, and the hot oil. That's a really popular method to do it. But if you want to fry it, cut the line in here, dredge it in some potato starch or rice flour, or cornstarch, or mix with baking soda, whatever you want to do, right? And then just dip it into 375 hot oil, and it'll get it nice and crispy. And then just peel off, use a chopstick or a fork, and then you can use that meat to top on congee or food or whatever, however you want to eat it, or just with a chopstick, right? So the Koreans, they'll just pan fry the whole thing whole. They'll dry it out, they'll salt it, and then serve it on a dish, and then you'll just pick at it with chopsticks around all the bones, right? Peel the bone, and then eat through the rest of it all the way to the bottom.
Alright, y'all, remember to wash your hands. Now today we're using these Pacific Sanddabs we just caught, but traditionally this recipe calls for either catfish or snakeheads. And alternatively, you can use any kind of mild and flaky whitefish like cod, tilapia, or halibut. So first with these Sanddabs, I'm just gonna run the edge of my knife against the scales to scale it. And then we'll just rinse that under cold tap water to remove any remaining bits and to clean it up. Then I'm gonna fillet these Sanddabs, and since it's a fairly delicate fish with just a little bit of flesh, I am gonna leave the skin on to help it hold up better when we cook it later. If you're using a different type of fish, you can definitely remove the skin if you'd like. Now once we have all these sanddabs filleted, I'm going to cut them into bite-sized pieces. We'll get all of our fish into a mixing bowl, and then we'll marinate it with a teaspoon of grated galangal. And if you can't find this, you can substitute it with ginger instead, but that galangal really gives it an earthy and citrusy aroma that's unmatched. To that, we'll add a teaspoon of turmeric powder, which will give the fish its signature color, and then we'll season this with a teaspoon of chicken bouillon, a teaspoon of sugar, and then this is mamtom or fermented shrimp paste, and this is going to give us some really incredible funk and depth. We'll add a teaspoon of that. And then to loosen up our marinade, we'll add in a splash of oil. We'll get some gloves on and give that a good mix, making sure that the marinade is fully incorporated and the fish is evenly coated. Then this is going in the fridge to vibe out for about 15 to 30 minutes. And while that's hanging out, we'll prep the rest of our ingredients and make our sauce. First, we have some green onions and we'll trim off the root ends, and then we'll cut them into 3-inch sections. And if you like this recipe and you want to learn how to make more of your favorite Vietnamese and Asian dishes, make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications to stay up to date on all my latest posts. Then I have some fresh dill, and we'll just need to trim off the stem ends. For noodles, we're pairing our Cha Ca La Vong with vermicelli noodles, and to cook these, we'll just bring a pot of salted water up to a boil, add in the noodles, cook for 6 minutes, turn off the heat and remove the pot from the heat, and let the noodles sit in the pot covered for another 6 minutes to finish cooking. We'll drain and rinse the noodles with cold water to stop the cooking process, and then we'll toss it in a little bit of oil to prevent the noodles from sticking to each other. And that's how you make perfectly al dente vermicelli noodles every single time. Now the last thing we'll have to do before frying our fish is to make our mamtom dipping sauce. So to a bowl or container, we'll add in 1 to 2 tablespoons of fermented shrimp paste, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and 2 tablespoons of filtered water. We'll give that a good mix, making sure that the shrimp paste and sugar have fully dissolved. And then to that, we'll add in the juice of a lime, a tablespoon of minced garlic, and a couple of chopped Thai chilies for some heat. Give that another good mix, and then feel free to adjust the seasonings to your own preferences. Now this sauce is definitely not going to be for everyone because fermented shrimp paste is funky. So alternatively, you can serve this with a traditional nuoc cham or fish sauce dipping sauce instead. And with that done, let's fry our fish. To a skillet on medium-high heat, I'm going to pour in a generous amount of vegetable oil, and we'll bring the oil up to 350 degrees. We're going to fry our fish in batches to not overcrowd the pan, and we'll cook the fish for just 2 to 3 minutes on both sides or until golden brown and cooked through. When all the fish is done cooking, I'm going to turn off the heat, and while the oil is still hot, I'm going to add in some of our green onions and dill. We're gonna fry this for just about 10 seconds to soften them and to help them release some of its aroma. Now traditionally, Cha Ca La Vong is served on a sizzling plate, but I don't have one of those, so we're just gonna plate it up on a dish. So first we'll get some of our green onions and dill onto the plate. Then we'll start layering some of our fried fish. We'll add some more green onions and dill on top of that. And then we'll finish with some fresh dill to set it off. Now serve the platter up with some vermicelli noodles and the mam tom dipping sauce and eat it family style, or make a bowl and eat it by yourself. And just like that, you've made Cha Ca La Vong at home. As always, the recipe and measurements are on my blog at feedthepudge.com. And if you've made it this far, let me know in the comment section, when's the last time you went fishing? Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy.